The best games of cards are back and forth battles. In this game, I felt like I was behind the 8 ball the entire time, but I managed to pull it out. How did this happen? Tune in to find out here on Legendary Tactics. So in this game, I don't know if it qualifies as a Krazy Komeback, but it certainly felt that way. It did give me some ideas that I want to share with you on some strategies that I'm picking up from playing this game. I'm really enjoying KARDS. It's a really fun, light game, very much like Hearthstone, as I've said in previous videos. And I like building a deck and customizing things as best as possible. This is a British deck with some American cards mixed in. And you can see I usually take the mulligan. I try and have as many cards in my hand that are low value in terms of cost. Because I want to make sure that I can get them into play. And that American 2/2 is a very common card that I like to play at the outset. That Humber Mark II is also very good to play early on because of the Fury ability, and it has decent, decent hit points or whatever. Early on, I think it's a great card to have because it can take a bit of damage, maybe take out a couple of the opponent's weaker cards in one go, and that's really, really handy. So I also like that any cards with the guard ability, which is a lot of British cards have that, really handy in forcing the opponent to kind of follow your prescribed path of units they need to take out in order to buy yourself some time and save your HQ. So I just wanted to advance that card, and we got a supply drop, so we really boosted that unit's health, which is great. But this deck that I'm up against, it's a Russian deck, and it's a meta I've run into. It's a style of deck that I've run into in recent games where they really like to spam out these weak 1/1 cards, and it's kind of interesting. I can't say I find it a particularly dominant strategy, but it's certainly an interesting one, and it has caused me some consternation as I'm trying to figure out how to best handle it every time. So here I've got my 2/2 up at the front line, and just doing a bit of damage. Nothing really spectacular at this point, but we're still early in the game. And I like to mix in as many of the high value cards as possible. I find they usually give a lot of value, but you can't overdo it in a deck. You have to make sure you got a pretty good balance, because you never know, how many credits you're going to need. And it always is a good idea, in my experience, to have some smaller cards, lower value cards, if only to make change, if you will, if you call it that. You want to be able to use all your credits if you can every single turn. And so for me, I have no problem with having little small units. Once I've done my thing, I've dropped a big card down, and done a few things with the cards already on the board, and I've got 1 or 2 credits left. It's always nice to be able to use that last credit or two with a new unit of your own there. So I got my artillery down, and I love the artillery in this game. I don't know why. I just think it's so useful. Unfortunately, I got taken out right away, but it's something that I love the artillery cards. I just find them to be so useful because they're so flexible, and you don't need to be on the front line to use them, which is a great thing. So, as I said, this deck that I'm up against seems to spam a lot of these light infantry, and I don't find it's an interesting strategy, and you can see a little bit later where I think my opponent was going. I guess Lord Pants is his name. But I just don't think it worked quite as well. Maybe it will work in other contexts, but I felt like I was under the gun. But in retrospect, as I watched this game again, I wonder if I really was under as much pressure as I thought I was at the time. But there was a time, and I'll point it out, where I really felt like I was going to lose this game. But the British ability to boost the HQ is really, really great. So you can see, yeah, spamming those light infantry and loading them up. And to me, I mean, yeah, it looks kind of intimidating in a way, but those 1-1s are not going to live long, and to me, they're not that impressive. So I'll boost my HQ up. That's such a good card, Fortification, to add 7 health to your HQ. That it makes the British a very formidable opponent, just because their HQ always seems to be at full strength. If you play the Russians, there's all these cards that damage your own HQ. So that Unity is Strength card is, I think, where my opponent's deck was going. If there's the ability to boost up a card from 1-1 to 5-5, that's probably what the intention was. So I might be wrong, and if anyone watching has a better insight as to what exactly was the plan on my opponent's part, I'd love to hear it. I was just playing my game. However, I noticed right around this point was where I thought, uh-oh, this could be bad. I've only got 1 card in hand, and in my experience, when you're playing cards, the worst situation is when you have cards in when you have no cards in hand, and you have to essentially almost burn through the credits. Here you can see all the indecision and I ended up wasting 3 credits there. But when you look at your opponent and your opponent has 8 cards and you have 1, that is usually a really bad sign, because you're going to end up, mainly it's because you're going to end up wasting credits. And not only that, once your units are depleted, you don't have the same reserves in order to restore them. So it was a bit scary here. I did aim to hurt that big unit so I could hit with my artillery at a distance and take out that boosted light infantry, which was my plan there. But now you can see there's some Russian tanks hitting the field, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what's going on here? I don't really have a lot of options here in hand, so I'm going to play the cards that I think are going to be worthwhile, but I'm very hesitant to advance because there really isn't much advantage to me getting into the front line. It's just going to be whatever I put there is going to be wiped out anyway. And I think at this point I want to keep the flexibility. If I've got units in the support line, I can pick and choose how and when to attack if they advance. And I think that is a valuable thing, is timing when you want to advance. You don't just want to throw cards in some sort of mass charge against the enemy. Sometimes you want to hold back. See, because I held back here, now I've seen what my opponent's up to, and I'm able to react accordingly. And again, this is where I'm beginning to freak out a bit here, because the front line is occupied. My support line is totally jammed. So I'm going to take out, I'm trying to figure out how can I do the damage I need to on that tank in order to wipe out both units in the front line. So I sacrificed that unit there, and now that the tank is at strength 3, I'm able to attack properly and take out that unit. But the problem is there's a 4 or 5 coming up behind, And I've only got 2 cards in hand, and my opponent still has 5, and I've only got 1 unit, an artillery unit in my support line. So I've got decent credits, but only enough to play 1 card. And this is again where it's maybe good to wait for, you know, if you can make change, then you can drop more cards down in a single go. I decided to hold back, not show my hand right now. It doesn't much matter because I'm not going to be advancing, and in fact, I'm already thinking that I might not be long for this world, especially as as my opponent drops another 4/5 down. It is not looking real good here. So at this point, I knew in my deck I had some card draw. I had some cards that would allow me to draw more cards, and they're boosting that unity of strength. But I didn't have them in hand, so there wasn't any way I could suddenly get a hold of a whole bunch of cards. And you can see this is essentially my my main play. I'm out of cards, and again, my opponent has 3. This is not a good situation. You want to make sure you have cards in hand so that you can utilize them, you know, and you've got some flexibility. If you're just picking up the 1 card per turn, that's not a great recipe for, you don't have any flexibility on a tactical level. So here at this point, it's more about mathing it out. How can I wipe out you know, the enemy? Luckily my HQ has been boosted up to 30, so we're in good shape that way. And even though they're 2 strong units up there, there's 2 strong units on the board. I do have some strength in my support line, so it wasn't totally lost. But again, just more cards coming down, and I don't have a lot of flexibility in that 7/8. Well, now 7/6. Pretty good. My support card or support line is full as well, which is always a problem in this game, because you need to be able to move your units out eventually to the front line. So it just meant I had to sacrifice some units, take out that big unit, and then get my hurricane down and try and take out at least 1 unit on the support line there to try and relieve some pressure. I was thinking about hitting the enemy HQ, but realistically, I don't have the strength to really push and try and go for the win here. So I'm just going to sit tight, hope I get a good card draw here, and hope my opponent doesn't do too much damage to me. Now, with that, I've lost my air unit. I'm being hit. However, the interesting thing is that now my opponent is also out of cards. So even though I'm outnumbered in a big way, and again, here I thought, oh boy, this is it. I'm never going to be able to to win this at this point. I've just got an AA barrage to send that unit back to hand and boost my HQ a bit, but otherwise I'm in trouble here. So I've, you know, again, the only advantage that I can see in my position at all is that I have that unit that is a guard unit, and isn't in a position to protect my HQ, but it's in a position to protect my artillery. And again, artillery, I think to take out units in the support line strategically, I think it's a great card. But yeah, the pressure's on though. I don't have a lot left, and my opponent's got a bunch of units. Drops down another 4/5, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is not good. So, I get my Humber Mark II, which actually is a great pickup actually, because it allows me to next turn I could take out 2 of those light infantry if they present themselves. So that's not bad, and that unit would still be alive for one more use. So my opponent appears to be running a bit out of gas here. Now, obviously, is in a much better spot, but is also out of cards to some extent, maybe getting some light infantry, but nothing really powerful. And this is where I feel that maybe the sort of the card style that my opponent was playing began to kind of show its weaknesses. I think it needs to win fast. And I was still, even though I was very badly damaged, obviously, I was also still a long ways from being destroyed. And with the guard on my artillery, I was thinking, maybe I can actually push a little bit on the HQ. And knowing full well that the units were going to try and attack my, my units, before they try and take out my support line as quickly as possible. And then I got a Churchill tank, and this, I think, was again a great opportunity, a great pickup there, and just taking out some units. And now suddenly, this seems a little more even now. Again, I don't know exactly where my opponent stumbled here, because there wasn't anything really obvious, but it just began to feel like, even though I was, I didn't have any cards in hand, that there wasn't really a lot of follow-up. Again, my HQ is technically at better health than it was in the beginning, and now another Churchill tank, and now I've got a lot of endurance there, and even though I don't have much else going on, the guard is really means they have any unit needs to basically plow through 2 Churchills in order to get to my HQ or my artillery. And that is a great setup. So there's a lot of defensive protection there now. And suddenly, I don't want to say suddenly, but my opponent has 3 cards in hand, and but a lot of them are, when they eventually reveal themselves, turn out to be fairly weak, and nothing really, 2-2, 1-3 at this stage in the game. There should be better cards than that. So the Awoken Giant is not a great card either. It's a very kind of almost an early game card, but I'm in good defensive position. I'm with my artillery now. I'm able to do a bunch of damage on whatever unit I choose, and I use this card essentially to take out the unit in the front line, draw a card, get death from above, and then we're still holding strong, still have our defensive position. And this time that was bought, I think, was so valuable, because I finally got the Convoy HX 175. Now, my draw wasn't amazing, but 5th Brigade is a decent card, allowed with the guard ability, and with the Cup of Tea boosted some units a little bit, which was great, and gave me the ability to again wipe out the units that were there and begin to push forward. And so the weakness that I see in this style of deck with spamming all these light infantry is just, you have to win fast. You have to, because ultimately, even if you've got 3, 4, 5 light infantry, they can't really do a lot of damage unless they're boosted. And that's where I began to see and where the game for my opponent was beginning to fall apart, especially as I started to get some of my stronger units on the board. Those 1/1 light infantry take forever to chew through a Churchill. You'd need, I don't know, assuming I didn't ever heal my units or anything, I just don't see where the strength is. And you can see it as I get my good cards out there. it is looking pretty weak now. They don't have, there's not a lot of strength to attack my Churchill. I've got a plane available to attack the HQ. My enemy has no guard up, so I can just hammer the HQ relentlessly and essentially turn the game around. And there's really, at this stage, even though I have no cards in hand, it doesn't matter. The force is overwhelming. The stronger units prevailed. So maybe this is just my playstyle. I like a good mix of cards, but I love having strong cards for the end game, because if you are able to get a good foothold, as I have now, there's really nothing that can be done, at this stage. And picking up another warplane, all of my opponent can do is guard. It doesn't really do much. It just staves off the inevitable, and then we're able to finish off the game here. Anyway, whether that's a crazy comeback, I'm not sure, especially since my HQ is at 22. But I certainly felt like I was on the ropes there for a little while, and it was a really fun game, and it felt like there was a bit of drama there. So hope you enjoyed this and maybe got some strategy ideas. If you have any others to offer, please add them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you here next time on Legendary Tactics.